Hello. Hello, Faye. Hello, Ruben. Hello, Sebas. Hello, Abril. Hello, Vane. How are you guys? How's everybody? How's sixth grade doing? It's nice to see you again after a long time to not see you. Hello, Sebas. Hello, everybody. Who's on the next, on the other side of the computer? Hello, Leo. Hello. It is nice to see you, and it is nice to be back here in our sixth grade TV Liceo special. Hello, Mo. How are you guys? Kiddos, today we will talk about something. Hello, Mo, what is your voice? Today we will talk about something that is really interesting for me. And I hope it will be interesting for you. And it's about this little fella right here. Nice, I'm fine too. The brain, we will talk about the brain. And as we saw on last week, the brain has the ability to do a lot of things because of the plasticity. And inside this unit, we will work and we will try to exploit the power that your brain has and how to take care of your brain, because I think we leave it for granted. We leave it in there like, the brain. But it is important to take care of it because it's a part of the body. And thank you, Mo. So, the first thing that I'm going to explain to you today, it's about the bumps and the groups of the brain. I don't know if you already saw and you know the shape of the brain right there. And it's right there, like this little mass in there. In humans, the lobes of the brain are divided by a number of bumps and by a number of groups. And these are known as gyri, called the bumps, and sulci, the groups or the fissures that the brain has. And we have a folding. And the folding of the brain is the result of the gyri and the sulci. And when this increase its surface, and this will help you, this structure helps you to have more cerebral context matter to fit inside the skull. So we have the skull, and we have inside of that our brain. Because of the structure on how is it doing, basically it's folded, we can get our brain in there. If the shape of our brain will be different, we will not have as much cerebral cortex as we want it to. So this shape helps us. And this shape is divided in the lobes right here. We saw it generally the last week, but in this week I will tell you more about it. I will tell you what does each different lobe do. And you are going to tell me, and this is important because the Somative project will be a brain gym. What is a brain gym, you may ask? Well, a brain gym is something that is going to help you to work your brain. As you lift heavy weight to keep the muscles strong, you have to keep your brain strong. So you will help me to build a brain gym and to take care of the brain, because it's a part of the body, and I think it's the most important. I don't know what do you think about the brain? But myself, I think, in my own opinion, I think the brain is the most important part of our body. As a doctor, yes, activities that helps ourselves improve the brain. And the first part that I'm going to talk about is the frontal lobe. And it's going to be right here, there, turning around and around. This one right here is the frontal lobe, and as its name says, it's in the front, right here. So the brain, this lobe, it's right here with you. You know that the brain is the only organ that know that it's an organ? I didn't know that. It is really interesting. How does he knows that it's an organ? So here, like a crown, we have the frontal lobe, as you can see here, turning round and round. And the frontal lobe is important because it controls the executive function, including the emotional regulation, the planning, the reasoning, and the problem solving. This is why, and I will tell you about a case about frontotemporal dementia. This is why when you hit or when you hurt the frontal lobe, the personality change. And these are really often, those are the first signs of the disease. Like when your frontal lobe is damaged, you can see it because you will have a personality change. Yes, but the heart is so important too. Yes, indeed, the heart is super important. So I think those two are one of the most important. And as I told you, remember in class, we talk about the problems that we can have if we hit or we hurt the frontal lobe. Well, today I'm going to tell you about the most famous case of frontal lobe dysfunction. And this is the story of a railway worker called Phineas Gage. Phineas Gage, in 1948, was using a tamping iron to pack a gunpowder. So he was like filling a gunpowder, and then this tunnel of the gunpowder rocks. And while his head was slightly turned, yes, like the story that I told you, his head was slightly turned, a mistake sparked an explosion. So he was like punching his gun, and then he was like turning, and boom, an explosion occurs. And that explosion gives himself a big accident in there. And this forced the main part of their gun to go into his left eye and through his skull. As you can see in the middle picture, I don't know if you can see it, but the gun goes up into their eye and into their skull. So he didn't die, but he survived miraculously. He survived. He got blind of his left eye, and he was like with a lot of damage in his frontal lobe. And the study started to show, and this is important because this was a really important part of the neuroscience medicine. Seba says, fun fact, people with depression have lower volume of the frontal lobe and the hypothalamus. Nice and excellent fun fact, Sebas. Very good. So because of his accident, they start to notice something different in Phineas Gage, like changes in their personality. Because he was really responsible, he was very hardworking, he was very kind with others. And after this accident, the people start like getting afraid of him, like, okay, he started to become disrespectful. He had a lot of difficulty to plan something. Like he was like, okay, I'm going to the store, but then he never went. So they start to like getting like to have this, like, who is this guy? This is not Phineas Gage. So the doctors start looking at it, and they realize because of the tube of the pipe right there hit his frontal lobe, and the frontal lobe controls the emotions and controls the personality. It was like, oh, it is because of that. The frontal lobe also contains the motor cortex, and the motor cortex is the major region, and it is responsible for voluntary movement. Yes, it was another person because this one accident, and as you can see here, he didn't die, thanks God, but he changed. Oh no, I'm I'm here. So the pipe went through his whole skull, and he changed because it hits a major region of the frontal lobe. So he changed. And yes, it was another person, like a different person. From being kind to be very disrespectful to others, it was like, who is he? And he lost his job, and he lost his family, and he lost a lot of things because he changed. And the people didn't understand why until the doctors see that, oh well, the pipe hit the frontal lobe, so he has his frontal lobe damage. So that's why he changed, because this part of the brain regulates the emotion. If you pass something like that, you cannot have expressions. You will have expressions, but it may be changed. If you are a really happy girl, and like, I don't know, a really creative girl and a really kind girl, well, you will flip. Not everyone will have the same results as the accident. Depends on which part and which part of the frontal lobe hits you. How to change your personality in 3 steps. Well, it's not, yes, poor person, poor Phineas. So the frontal lobe is like a crown right here. And then we have the parietal lobe. And the parietal lobe is behind the frontal lobe. So if the frontal lobe is right here, the parietal lobe is here. Sorry, don't look at my mice. The frontal lobe is right here, as you can see there. It's in the middle, but it can pass. Well, the medicine has changed. I don't know. I'm not familiar with how much are they changing the medicine, the neuroscience, but I think they can like reverse that thing. So we have the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is behind the frontal lobe. So we have frontal lobe, parietal lobe right here. Como una diadema. It can, but it's risky. It's the only case, well, I don't know. I mean, there are many cases. This is one of the most important because in the case of Phineas Gage, they realize like the importance of the brain and the brain damage. So in the parietal lobe is behind the frontal lobe, and this lobe right here is responsible for integrating sensory information. I will take this because I'm alone, so I will not have risk of anything. So this helps integrate sensory information, including the touch, including the temperature, including the pressure, including the pain. This guy helps us to process the information about the taste, about the touch, about the movement, about the temperature. And I think there are a lot of more cases. Well, yes, we have a lot of accidents related to the brain, the brain damage. So that's why we're looking through this, because we need to know how to take care of our brain. And because of this, of all these parietal lobe responsibilities, the processing of the parietal lobe, we are able to, for example, discern from touch alone the two objects. When we know that our parietal lobe is working, there's a study that it's called the 2-point discrimination, because the parietal lobe lets you identify if there's like one touch or 2-point touch. So there's a study that like with a device with 2 points, they are like pinching you in different areas of the body, and your brain like helps you to understand, like, okay, they are pinching me. For example, if you close your eyes, you pinch yourself with 2 things, like pop, you identify these 2 points. You can realize that there are 2 things touching you, or if they touch you like this, you can feel the 2 points itching you. Someone got an accident, the doctor needed to get his hypothalamus from his brain. You're looking at it, I like that. So using this, we can understand how much those or parietal lobe is working and how much is it working, because it regulates our sensation. There are cases when they hit or something happens to them, and they are touching like a hot base, and they don't feel a thing because their parietal lobe is damaged. So this will help us to regulate. This will help us to feel if it's cold or if it's hot or if it's warm. This helps us to understand that. Or our mouth, like if it's salty or if it's sweet, or the movement. The parietal lobe controls the movement and how does the things feel, if it's soft or if it's like rock. You can feel that because of the parietal lobe. Then we have the temporal lobe. The temporal lobe is located below. Right here. No, this is not one. It's this one. The temporal lobe is located below. It's like under the parietal lobe. We have the front lobe, the parietal lobe, and under those we have the temporal lobe. And this one process memories, and the memories, some people say that you can remember things when you smell or when you see something. Well, this is because our temporal lobe. He makes sensations of taste, of sound, of sight, and touch to the memories. The temporal lobe also contains regions dedicated only to process sensory information. Particularly important information like hearing, like recognize language, and forming memories. For example, the auditory information that you got by hearing something. This is the one who is in charge of that. The temporal lobe contains the primary auditory cortex, which receives information from the ears and process those information. For example, when you are hearing words, like me, when you are hearing me talking and talking and talking, the temporal lobe is working. Or when you hear laughs, when you hear a cry baby, the temporal lobe is telling you like, this is a baby. Or when you hear a dog barking, the temporal lobe is telling you, this is a dog. You remember it's a dog, it's an animal. Or when you hear a cat meowing, the temporary lobe is telling you like, hey, it's a cat. Do you remember the word cat? So the temporal lobe is the one who is in charge of all of that. Also, he's in charge of all the visual processing. But certain areas of the temporary lobe makes like understand of faces and some scenes. For example, Andrea were asking about expressions. The temporary lobe is in charge of that. Like when you see someone doing this, the temporary lobe activates and tells you like, this person is angry. Or when you see someone who is sad, that expression, the temporary lobe has it. And it's like, hey, that person is sad. Or when you see someone laughing and having a smile, the temporal lobe is telling you like, hey, this person is happy, look at his face. Look at this scene when you see like someone doing this and that, the temporal lobe is telling you like, that is a bad signal. They're like getting misbehave calling or something. The temporal lobe is also the one in charge of the memory, okay? And the one in charge of learning, and the one in charge of learning emotions. So when you have troubles, or when we see that someone has like this amazing skill of learning new language, learning numbers, learning a lot of things, the temporal lobe is working. But if the person has an accident and if they go like his temporal lobe is damaged, he cannot like remember some things, like I don't know, his short memory is like hurt, or his long memory term is hurt. This is because the temporary lobe is hurt. And then our fourth lobe is the occipital lobe, and this one is located at the back of the brain, right here, the one that is super small. So we have the temporal lobe, and then the one that is like diadema, and then we have the one that is below, and then we have the occipital lobe, and it's right here behind us, in this part of the head. And he is responsible of the visual processing center in the brain. And that's why this one is really important, because this one helps us to see. Okay? That's why we have to take care of not hitting ourselves, like, bah! When you hit the floor and you hit your head, when it's like it's hard enough, you can lose your brain. You can lose your sight. The primary visual cortex receives visual information from the eyes, and the information goes into this, is the window of us, just kind of like that. So we can process some things in this part of the brain. We can process like the depth and the distance and the location and the identity of seen objects. Like, oh, in the distance we can see a mountain like 4 meters below us. The brain helps us, the occipital love is the one who is in charge of that. Or when we see the sea, and it's like, it's really deep. I cannot go because I'm going to drown. The occipital lobe is the one who is in charge to see how deep is that. Why you cannot sleep when you hit yourself? That's a really good question. I don't know. Actually, I don't know why you cannot sleep when you hit yourself. That's a really good question. Who can help us to identify why you cannot sleep when you hit yourself? Go there, go to Google, and let's inquire. Let's have some inquiry there. Why you cannot sleep when you hit yourself? When you hit your head and your mom or your dad tells you, no te duermas, no te duermas. Why? Why is that? Mauricio says, because you know. What? Because why you cannot sleep when you hit yourself? Who can tell me? That's a really good question. And I'm going for my cell phone because I'm going to look for it too. You're going to hit is the surprise. What? Is that a surprise? No, look for it.
Oh.
When you hit, I think the heat makes the production of melanin more difficult, and melanin helps you to make you sleep. Abril says, de acuerdo con expertos, es un error común creer que a una persona que ha tenido un golpe en la cabeza no se le debe permitir dormir para evitar que caiga en un estado de coma. What? So it's a mistake? Leo says, because if you have an interwound, Vanessa says, to see if you have any trouble when you hit the head. It says here. Well, it says when it's hot. Well, the melanin, now that you go into that topic, I just read, and it is really interesting. When someone hits you is another thing. And if you do it, you don't fall asleep. So the melanin helps you to sleep. And that's do you remember that we talk about the REM process? Well, the melanin is the one who helps you to sleep. They say, and I don't know if this is true because it could be really, really dark, to help the melanin to go into work, when you sleep, your room has to be really, really dark. Like they say, if you go and put your hands in front of you, you need to not be able to see your hand. That's how dark it has to be, because the melanin is not working properly if you see slight of light. So it is interesting to talk about that. So guys, why I tell you about the labs, why I'm telling you about all of these things? Well, because in this unit we will see why it's important to take care of our brain, why is it important to not let them rest. We need to put our brain to work, and I need you to understand what are the processes that are happening in our brain. And I will show you another image or last image of the day. And this will help you to see all the lobes. Right here we have the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, the temporal lobe, the frontal lobe. Teacher, the room of TV, when we close the door, you don't see anything because it does not have windows. Yes, we can sleep in TV Liceo if you want it, because we don't have windows, so we can have our melanin working on point. So why For us, it's important to know all of these laws and the things that are in charge of this law. Why do you think you need to have this information? Tell me. Why do you think it's important to know, like, the processes that these laws are having? And to know the activities that the laws are doing. Who can tell me? Why do you think it is important to save you for one thing? For one thing, which thing? Because if you hurt yourself, you can know what happens. Very good, April. Why do you think it is important to know and to understand the process that the brain has? To go to the hospital or not? Yes, it is important to know that. Why do you think, what is the purpose of my life if I know, like, what does the frontal lobe does? Like, that information, why is it important to me? I mean, I'm not going to be a doctor. Why do you think it is important? If we relate this information with the summative activity, the summative activity is a brain gym. Or to be a doctor when you grow up. That is correct. But if you're not going to be a doctor and you want more information for your summative, and the brain gym is going to help you to put our brain stronger, why do you think it is important to understand what are the activities that each lobe does to save you of all of the brain? Well, yes, it could be an answer. You have to have a strong brain. Nice, yes, to have a strong brain. Sebas, what do you think we need to understand all of this? Or who else is there? Andrea, Mauricio, Vanessa is there, Faye is there also. Why do you need to know those activities? All the activities that I told you. Why do you think it is important to understand how the brain works? To make a brain gym. When you have problems, you can solve them better. That is correct, that is true. Well, kiddos, in this unit, and I really like that, to know what our body is made of, and it will help us to understand mental illness or mood things. That is right. This unit I think I like this unit a lot, to help us make the summative and to know more about us. Yes, both answers are correct. All of your answers are correct. So I like this unit a lot because it reminds me when I was in college studying these things. So I hope you really liked it because the brain is an extraordinary part of our body. If it's not the most important, it's one of the most important parts. So I hope, guys, you have more information to the future in the summative. Yes, it is correct also too. Guys, with this we finish. I will see 6th grade A later at 12:10. The rest of you, I will see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Have a nice recess. Take care of yourself. See you next time. Bye.